If you're an online fitness or B2C coach already doing $20,000 to $30,000 a month, then you've got a big audience of probably at least 20,000 followers. Well, if your DMs still feel like a mess, then this is for you. Maybe you've already tried a setup. Maybe they booked a couple of calls, made a few sales, and you told yourself, well, I guess it's okay. But deep down, you know that there's a way more money sitting inside your inbox than actually hits your payment processor. I've worked with coaches who have 7,000 followers and coaches who've had hundreds of thousands of followers. The pattern is usually the same. There's a big engaged audience. There's a real brand going on, but no real DM system to actually convert them. You don't have a setter problem, you have a systems problem: hiring, onboarding, and ramping. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the free systems that we install when we build what I call a setter operating system. Number one is the hiring system. So you stop gambling on random setters and friends. Number two is an onboarding system. So your setter actually knows how to win inside your business, and we both know what winning actually looks and feels like. Number three is the ramping system. So they hit the volume and the KPIs and targets in the first 7 to 14 days instead of taking 6 to 12 months to basically figure it out. I'll also use a few client examples along the way, like one fitness coach who went from $30,000 a month to a consistent $80,000 to $90,000 a month, with just $30,000 to $40,000 a month coming from his DMs purely. But this is not about one guy. It's about the system that works for anybody with an audience and an offer. Before we install these systems, most businesses look like this. You've got a real audience, meaning IG followers, maybe you've got an email list, you have a podcast, or perhaps you're even on YouTube. You're already doing $22,000 or $30,000 a month, mostly from the warmest 5 to 10% will actually chase you. These leads are ready to buy. But the lead nurture means that post content, send emails, hope that the serious ones are basically going to apply organically. Or you may have tried a setter part-time, commission only, no real training, and perhaps not even real KPIs, let alone data tracking. They've booked some calls and made some sales, but there's no way to tell if they were actually really good. The feeling is, I know we're leaving money on the table. If my setter left tomorrow, then everything would break. I'm scared to hire full-time, but I'm also sick of being glued to my DMs. Well, if that sounds familiar, that's exactly where we start. System number one is how you attract and select the right human for your inbox, instead of hiring whoever is available and hoping that they essentially care. We start with the 4R document, which is the role of full-time DM appointment setter, owning conversations and bookings. Then we talk about responsibilities. Inbound, outbound, follow-up, data tracking, end-of-day reports. What are they responsible for? Then we look at the requirements. Are they coachable? Are they proactive? Are they hungry? Strong written English, speed to lead less than 2 to 5 minutes, and they can actually follow a process as well. Then the third one is the results. X qualified calls per week on Y show rate, clear revenue thresholds over 30 to 90 days, giving them clear goals to actually hit. This kills vague hires like somebody to help with the DMs for a few hours. You know exactly what you're looking for and what winning actually looks like. Then we'll build a very simple talent pipeline. We'll join the right Facebook groups, school communities, and job boards where trained setters actually live. You write a hiring post that clearly says, this is for full-time or serious part-time people only. Here's what you'll do daily. Here's how you will get paid, and here's exactly how to apply. And if you don't follow the instructions, you're essentially out. If a setter can't follow basic instructions based on a hiring post, then let alone not following the instructions once you're actually inside your company. Post consistently like a marketing campaign instead of once and pray. Volume negates luck. Good hiring is volume plus standards, enough candidates, and a very clear filter. Once applications come in, we run a group interview because it's one of the most effective ways to talk to a lot of people in a very short time frame, being optimized with our time. Not a coffee chat, 6 to 10 candidates on one Zoom. Round 1, quick intros to see what their confidence and communication is like. Round 2, situational questions, how they think, take ownership, and handle resistance. And round 3, role-specific talk through the actual DM scenarios, like a role play. Then we score everybody against the 4R. We're hunting for coachability, hunger, clarity, and a real ownership mindset. That's how we consistently find setters who can hit 10 to 15 qualified calls a week. Once ramped, whether the account has 7,000 followers or 400,000 followers. System number 2 is actually the onboarding. This is where you turn that person into somebody who can actually represent your brand and print calls without you babysitting. It's going to be part of the onboarding period. Don't get me wrong. It's not where you walk them through the onboarding and they basically become autonomous from day one. You have to develop somebody into that specifically. A lot of people tend to think that as soon as I hire an A player, I would just onboard him in my business and I don't have to look at it again. It doesn't work that way. That A player gets developed over time. So we give every new setter a clear onboarding doc, 5 to 10 day trial period. Slack access, the right channels, your booking links, access to the calendars, the CRM, logins from ManyChat, Meta Business Suite or IG, links to your best content, testimonials, sales pages, and I can go on and on and on. But it's essentially a step-by-step checklist they follow, so we can actually reuse that for every single new hire as well. Again, we're about systems, so we don't want to install things once and don't maintain it, so we have to repeat it over and over again once this setup would not work. And that's the thing that we're trying to avoid, repetitive work without a purpose. So the goal is day one, clarity. They know what the tools are, where things live, and how to essentially get help without pinging you every 5 minutes. Then we actually drill who they talk to and what they really sell. The ideal client avatar, who buys, what hurts, what do they actually specifically want. We would train them on your offer, program structure, price points, key outcomes, what we're actually selling. Is it time? Is it freedom? Is it confidence? Or is it stability? Not just workouts or modules or a B2C product that helps them make more money essentially, but what can they have as an actual outcome? Then what are the rules of engagement, the tonality, what we never promise, how we position calls as well to have the right people on those calls in terms of like qualification. And we make them teach it back in their own words. If they can explain your ICP's A to B to what the gap is, then they're not ready to actually represent you. Next is the actual DM framework and scoreboards. We don't just hand them a giant script and turn them into a robot. We give them an actual real flow. First, they need to spark interest. The second thing that you want your seller to do is actually dig for goals and pains. Then you want to share a simple story or frame your offer. Then they get to qualify the lead and then they actually book the call. The clear qualification rules is who we want, who we don't want, and when to actually disqualify. That turns into daily KPIs and end of day reports where we have a certain of total conversations, inbound, outbound, and follow-ups. We're talking about total volume, how many calls were proposed, how many calls were actually booked, how many of those were actually qualified calls as well, because booking calls is the easy part, and how many cancellations we actually had. We also would track working hours, highs, lows, and potentially some notes. Because that's what turns having conversations into an actual system that you can lead to make data-driven decisions instead of the feelings that you feel about the process. And then system number 3 is essentially ramping. So the first 7 to 14 days inside the inbox, this is where you'll find out if you hired a weapon or essentially a warm body. In the first 24 to 48 hours, we don't let them just spam outbounds. We make them read through past conversations to absorb the tone of voice, to look at what's happening inside the inbox. We let them clean the inbox and reply to recent inbounds or opt-ins. We start logging leads in a simple CRM or actual tracker so they get to have core focus on what moves the needle. They send their first 50 to 75 messages, even if it's imperfect. They submit their end of day reports from day one, so the reporting habit is essentially installed. And the point is immersion plus data. They're in the game and we see how they operate under light pressure. Then we actually look for specific markers in days 2 to 7. Pace, up to 25 to 35 conversations per hour. First call proposals and first 2 to 3 qualified calls booked ideally. Conversations are shifting from a copy-paste neutral from the script that we initially created to actually using a framework. Speed to lead in under 2 to 4 minutes during working hours. On time to meetings, active in Slack, consistent EUDs. If those aren't there, then you don't wait 90 days to see how it goes. You have direct conversations or you essentially keep on hiring. That's how the system works. The last thing you want to do is stick around with a bad hire, lose the time, lose energy, lose money, lose resources to just figure out like, well, I perhaps should have done this at the end of the 7-day trial because I already knew based on the red flags that it wasn't going to work. Then by day 7 to 14, a good setter will be fully autonomous on end of day reports, call reminders, CRM, basic tech. They hit activity targets and maintain at least a 1 to 2% call proposal rate based off their entire activity that they do inside the inbox. They book qualified calls consistently each day or each week, bring their own insights from the inbox into meetings, the objections, the drop-off points, ideas to actually test. DM setting is a lot about testing as well. Show the same or higher hunger than day 1 and a higher say to do ratio. That's the ramp up that we engineered for the fitness client I mentioned earlier. Within weeks, he had a setter hitting 10 plus calls a week, then 13 to 15, which turns into $30,000 to $40,000 a month in new cash from his actual DMs and took his total revenue up into the $80,000 to $90,000 a month range. Different audiences, different niches, same ramping principles. So when these 3 systems are in, a few things happen. Your seller becomes a profit center, not an experiment. You stop relying 100% on launches and challenges to basically figure out why you would have a bad patch that month. You can actually predict with this audience and this setter, we should get around X calls and Y revenue. Literally, if you are going a little bit further into metrics, you can have a metric that's literally called cash per call. And based on your show rate, qualification rate, you would literally say, if I have X amount of calls that are being live, then I know that this is the amount of cash that we're collecting from that. And it makes you be able to do extremely clear projections. You can actually predict with this audience and this setter that we should get around X calls and Y revenue. And yes, new bottlenecks show up. You realize that your close rate on colder leads isn't as good as you thought, which is normal because it means that the sales cycle is longer. They haven't had as much time on brand. Your calendar gets full and you're probably going to need either a triager or a closer. Then your delivery capacity gets tight and you would need operations. But those are the right kind of problems to actually have. You're finally playing an actual scaling game instead of like, hey, let's pray that somebody is going to basically apply this week organically through my link in bio on my Instagram or through your YouTube channel or whatever channels you essentially have, right? So this is for you if you're a fitness or a B2C coach doing at least $20,000 a month. You have an audience of at least 20,000 followers on Instagram, YouTube, a podcast, an email list, but no real DM conversion engine. You've tried a setter or you have one right now, but there's no structure. There's no KPIs, there's no leadership, let alone data tracking. Or you don't even know what the data tracking does for you and what those numbers would actually tell you to make proper decisions. You're tired of a roller coaster every month and emergency promotions just to basically hit your numbers. So if you want me and my team to install these free systems like hiring, onboarding, ramping, and also scaling your setter, so your DMs can realistically do $30,000 to $50,000 a month on their own from the audience that you already have without running more ads, without posting more content, then here's what to do. Go to Instagram, @TJTheSetter is my handle, DM me the word systems, and I'll send you a short breakdown of what this would look like in your specific business with your audience and your specific lead flow. No gimmicks, just a setter operating system your brand should have the moment you cross $20,000 a month. That's it for this video. Hope to see you in the next one.